Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to The Final Score with Matthew and
Stevie. What's up, guys? The Final Score is back again tonight. This week, we're talking about the madness, and man, was the madness out in full effect last week. A lot of upsets, a lot of bad brackets out there. We'll talk a little bit of free agency moves. We're going to be talking a little Dallas Cowboys. What kind of moves they haven't been making, or what kind of moves they might be making soon. And we'll just talk about the more NFL football. With me tonight, just going with two of us tonight. Matthew had a prior commitment. He was trying to get the New York Giants straight, and that's going to be a all-year job right there for Matthew. But with me tonight, my man Eric Sawyer. What's up, buddy?
What you say, Reno?
Not many people call me Reno up here anymore. I mean, I get called Reno a lot during football season. That's what all the players call me, and you don't hear Reno too many times except during football season. But I've been called Reno since I was a kid. I like it. I don't know where it come up. It was always Stevie Reno. Stevie Reno. I don't know what made him call. It was my cousin. One of my older cousins called me that. I don't know where it come from, but it stuck. So let's start off talking about a little bit of March Madness. Man, I was just looking at my brackets, and I thought I'd done a little bit better. I did a little bit better than I thought, but I know you said, and I'm going to pull my bracket up here too, that your bracket. You thought your bracket was bad, but you can't pull yours up because you're using your phone. But just looking at what went down last week, and we'll go through some of this stuff. Of course, let's start right off in the East. Connecticut with the blowout win over Stetson, and I don't know who this is. We got a comment already before we get going. Sawyer killing you with backdrops. Yeah. He's got that backdrop. We need to change that backdrop though. Maybe a Carolina backdrop or something like that. This ain't football season.
No, sir. How about your Cowboys?
He didn't say it last week. He wouldn't say it last week. He's catching up this week. I don't know who that is saying that. Who the Facebook user is. Appreciate you chiming in. But man, Connecticut gets a big win over Stetson, 91-52. We'll talk a little bit more about them in just a few minutes. Northwestern. Yeah, I picked Northwestern, the number 9 seed, to it's Birdsong back again. That's who it is. With a 12-point win over Florida Atlantic. That was the 9 versus the 8. So got those two right. This is where I really went downhill here. UAB and San Diego State. I had UAB winning. San Diego State gets the 4-point win. I don't know. Did you have UAB? Didn't you have UAB too?
Had UAB in mine also.
Now, this is one of the big upsets right here that screw. I can't imagine anybody. There's 2 picks. I can't imagine anybody pick unless you made like 1,000 brackets. And this is one of them right here. Auburn drops a 2-point loss to Yale. Number 4, Auburn coming off I think they won the SEC tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, on a hot streak, and then they lose to Yale by 2 points. And I was like that. Both of those that messed me up going into the next round there. How about Duquesne, though? Me and Eric both picked Duquesne last week over BYU. They come through for us. It's upset BYU. And then Illinois with a win over Morehead State. No surprise there. Got that. Washington State over Drake. That was closer than what I thought it would be, but Washington State pulls it out. Iowa State gets a big win over South Dakota State, a 17-point win. So going into that the next round, I guess the round of 32, and we'll go through each bracket like this. We'll go through each region. Connecticut dominates Northwestern. I mean, everybody's talking about, I think, that Connecticut's averaging wins in the counting last year in the tournament. Their average margin of victory is in double digits now. Connecticut is dominating right now. I, let me ask you, Eric. I mean, we've seen this before in the past. Now, competition is a little. They haven't hit the big competition yet, and they probably won't really hit. I mean, they're going to take on a number 5 seed in San Diego State, but you think Connecticut keeps this up and keeps dominating all these guys?
Well, in my bracket, I told you I got Connecticut winning. I got Connecticut beating all Tar Heels, and that actually being their true test. Is it's not going to be no game you dominate by 20, 25 points. I feel like Carolina and Connecticut play the same style ball, but Connecticut, they're just more. They're more talented. They got a more deep roster than the Tar Heels do.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So next round, you had at San Diego State playing Yale. No competition there. San Diego State gets to win 85-57. Duquesne gets blown out by Illinois. Our Duquesne. I did not pick Duquesne to beat Illinois. I'll put it that way. That was 26 points there. Iowa State. Iowa State over Washington 67-56. So that leaves in the Sweet 16 matchup Connecticut against San Diego State. That'll be tomorrow night at 7:39 p.m. on TBS. And Illinois is over Iowa State, and that's 10:09 tomorrow night on TBS. So who you got in those two games? Let's first of all Connecticut, San Diego State. We know you got Connecticut because you said you picked Connecticut to win it all. And what about Illinois and Iowa State? Who you got there, though?
I think that's going to be a really good game. I think that's a 3 seed versus 2 seed.
Yep.
I got Illinois getting Iowa State, but it wouldn't surprise me if Iowa State wins, but I do have Illinois beating Iowa State. I'm gonna say the score. I might even say 1.67-66, something like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's who I've got. I got Illinois winning, but I like you said, I think it's gonna be a close game. Would not surprise me either way, but if I had to pick one, I'd have to pick Illinois winning this game. So that's for what region was that? That's the East region, the West region. So Carolina opens up with a big win over Wagner, 90-62. Michigan State gets a win over Mississippi State by 18. Grand Canyon did not pick Grand Canyon. Should have picked Grand Canyon because that entered my mind. Gets a win over St. Mary's by 9. Alabama puts over 100 points on Charleston. They messed me up there because I had Charleston picked there. So Alabama gets a win there. Clemson over New Mexico by 21. Baylor gets a win over Colgate by 92-67. Don't make me subtract or do math up here. Dayton over Nevada 63-60. Arizona over Long Beach State 85-65. Now, coming into this second round matchup, I know I said last week when we were making the picks, Carolina and Michigan State. That worried me as a Carolina fan. Michigan State is, Tom Izzo always has his teams ready. And I was like, there's something about that. Don't be surprised if Carolina drops out to Michigan State. And the way it started out, I thought it was going to happen. Michigan State opens up a 26-14 lead, and there's a timeout, and Hubert just pretty much tells him, you got to come to the fight. Who's coming to the fight? And after that, it was on. Carolina ends up blowing them out by 16. And probably one of the most impressive games I've seen Carolina play all year. That impressed me with them being able to come from behind in a pressure situation like that and then just take over the game. What did you think about that game, Eric?
I thought the same thing, but what's scaring me in the back of my mind is when you play a team. Alabama's going to be tough tomorrow, but like I said, you talking about Carolina trying to upset a UConn, two people wouldn't even call that an upset, because they're both number one seeds. But I feel like UConn is the number one team in the country.
There's a big gap between UConn, and I'll even say it now, between UConn and any of the number one seeds. Purdue, Purdue's playing lights out basketball, but UConn is here. The other number one seeds are here.
Right.
And there's a big gap. Even Houston now. So Carolina moves on to the Sweet 16. Grand Canyon drops to Alabama 72-61. Clemson over Baylor, the upset 72-64. Dayton drops to Arizona 78-68. So setting up Carolina versus Alabama, and that's tomorrow night at 9:39 on CBS. And then Clemson against Arizona, 7:09 on CBS tomorrow night. So who you got here there, Eric?
I hate to say it. I picked Arizona to get upset in the first round. I always thought that was going to be the 15-2. You always got to pick at least one of them. And I thought that. I don't know. Apparently, my boy Caleb Love comes to play in the NCAA tournament and it's going to be hard, but I don't know. I'm going to say Arizona. I mean, it's hard to go. They're playing good basketball at the right moment, too. I mean, they're kind of like an NC State. They came alive right at the right moment. They're just, I mean, they're the number 2 seed, but, I mean, they're playing really good ball. I mean, I feel like this tournament this year is going to go down as one of the greatest of all time. It's a lot of good basketball teams in there.
So I've got Carolina and Arizona with the Caleb Love, return of Caleb Love.
Yeah, that's what
I got that. I got that going into the regional championship game. So that's the West region. South region. Houston comes out smoking. They win by 40 over Longwood. A&M, the 9 versus 8, they get the win over Nebraska by 15. James Madison. Did I not say it though? Did I not say it? They let me down one time, but they didn't let me down in the first game. James Madison with the upset of Wisconsin by 11. Duke beats Vermont by 17. NC State, the Cardiac Pack, 80-67. Their first, I think it was their first NCAA tournament win since 2015 or 16. I can't remember exactly which one.
Right.
The upset of the night. Oakland with a 4-point win over Kentucky. I can't think of that kid's name.
Jack Loki.
What did he hit? Like 10 3-pointers?
He hit 10. Yep. He shot 20, but he hit 10 of them.
Yeah, I mean, 50%, dude. If you shoot 20, hit 10, right there, that's 30 points right now. I'll take it. Colorado with a wild win over Florida, 102-100. I mean, that was a wild ending there. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, that was I was watching that. I couldn't believe that. That was a heck of a shot.
Yeah. Marquette over Western Kentucky, 87-69. So before we go any further, let's talk Kentucky. Okay. John Calipari. He's been in Kentucky for a while. He's been other places, UMass. And he was kind of the first one to adopt this one and done deal. And I don't know if you heard it, if you were watching that game the other night, but listening to the announcers talking about it, and this was late in the game. This was when Oakland was up, and it was 4 or 5 minutes left in the game. The announcer said the guys that are playing the best for Kentucky right now are the guys that are like juniors and sophomores. The freshmen, the fab freshmen, are not playing as well as they have. And I've said this for a long time. It's all right during the regular season. These guys can get by through the regular season. But it's just like the NFL playoffs. When you get to this NCAA tournament, that pressure turns up another notch. You got your conference tournament, that turns it up a notch because it's win or go home. But right now, you win, you go home. You you don't play for another year if you lose now. You don't even got the NCAA tournament to fall back on. Has the time of one and done and the time of John Calipari at Kentucky come and gone? Because I'm hearing a lot of things from Kentucky fans, and some of them are going a little too far talking about what they're going to do if Calipari is sitting on the sidelines next year for Kentucky. Has the time of the one and done and this old John Calipari, is it time for it to end at Kentucky? What do you think?
I'm not the biggest John. I think John Calipari is a good coach, but I'm not a fan of John Calipari because of the one and done crap.
Right.
He made that rule. They should have never changed it. If you think you're good enough to go out of high school, excuse my language, hell with it. If you think you're good enough, let them go. But I think what people get so mad about is like what you said. It's just like I hate this. It's gonna piss some Duke fans off. Every year, you hear the same two teams. They got the top two recruiting class, and they're gonna go to the Final Four. Well, they don't go, Stevie. They don't go, and it's like you said. Do you blame the coaching? Do you blame the players? I mean, you're kind of like the Dallas Cowboys at the NCAA. I mean, you're boosting up, you're getting the players, but what's the end result? Nothing. I mean, you still got Carolinas. I mean, teams like State and stuff still knocking you off.
Look, the best freshman class that I think that in my time that I've ever seen play that they had freshmen playing was the Fab Five at Michigan.
Yeah, Chris Webb and
Did,
all.
did they never won a conference tournament championship, and they never won an NCAA tournament championship. They came close. They got to what, two championship games?
Yeah, that's when
They
they
got,
Chris Webb at Carolina won and Chris Webb called a timeout. Yeah.
yeah. So then they got pummeled by Duke the year before that. So you look at and I said this a few years ago. This was the tournament. Matter of fact, it was a tournament when they were going when COVID struck. And I was saying because you had teams like Dayton, that Dayton was playing their butt off, and Dayton had seniors. They were loaded with seniors and juniors. I was like, is there any doubt? I mean, you're going to see the the elite teams go down a notch because you don't get a chance to develop any chemistry with players like sitting there 1 year and they go in and out. I remember back in the day when I was a kid, you hear my dogs getting mad at me now. I would get a ACC basketball handbook every year, and I knew every player, and I could follow them for 4 years. You knew they were going to be there at least 3 years. Most of them were there for 4 years. Now I couldn't tell you, with so much turnaround, I couldn't tell you who's on some of the guys on Duke's team.
Yeah, it's just wild because I was looking at the thing today. And what's that guy's name? I thought of. Is it Gene O'Rourke, the guy that used to coach Connecticut?
Gino Ray, yeah, he still coaches. He still coaches Connecticut.
Right, but that guy made a valid point. And it's the truth because I umpired and refereed basketball for 5 years.
Yeah,
and I played AAU basketball coming up. It's the truth. Americans have it backwards compared to the Europeans and stuff. They play ball. They practice 4 or 5 times a week, and they play 1 game or 2 games on Saturday. Well, America is you practice once, maybe twice, and you play 5 or 6 games on Saturday. Well, you're not building team chemistry because you're not practicing.
exactly.
Practice is what makes you good. Game situations. I mean, don't get me wrong. That kid might go, in 6 games, he might get 20, 10, 5, 7. I mean, you're not developing no chemistry with that guy, or the other guys. That's what's wrong with Kentucky and Duke. I hate to say it. It's the truth, though.
Oh, it's the truth. I agree with you. I just looking back on some of these national championship teams that back in the day, you had even NC State back in '83, you had three seniors that led the way there that had been together all 4 years there, pretty much knew what each other was going to do, which each other was going to do before they did it, and you don't have that with some of these guys. I mean, it's the proof's in the pudding. I mean, you look at it. I can sit here and argue all day with somebody, but the proof is out there. You know, the one and done. Granted, let the kids do what they want to. And look, how bad does it screw up recruiting when you can like I may have this guy just 1 year, so I've got to go ahead and recruit somebody at his position again, try to convince this guy that he's only going to be there 1 year and get somebody in there again to take that position. It's a headache. It's got to be a headache to recruit.
I would think so too. I don't know. Like I tell my dad all the time. You lived the best era of sports, the 80s and the 90s and stuff. Yeah. College basketball, football, all that stuff was good. I mean, football, college, it still goes to the early 2000s, but I still say about the cutoff date is about after I say 2010 and after. Sports has been, to me, it's been a joke.
Well, I'll tell you this, dude. Every professional sports out there is about business now. It's not about wins, winning and losing. It's about business. It's about making a profit. We want to make money. But no offense to the players, because I know it's your job, it's your livelihood, but it's not. And those players back then, they wanted to make money too.
Right.
But look, winning, I believe it, and I may be wrong because I was not a professional athlete by any means, but I think making money was important, but winning a ring was more important to them than making that money, or just as important to me. I think. All right, moving on to the round of 32. Houston has to hit a desperation 3 with time running out to go to overtime with Texas A&M, and ends up winning by 5. Duke just dominates James Madison, 93-55. And let me tell you something. You're a referee, and I don't know if you watched that Duke game or not.
No, I didn't.
Okay, there was a play. There was a breakaway fast break by a Duke player, and I can't remember his name. He goes up for the dunk. The James Madison player goes up with him. The James Madison player turns so he goes sideways into him and has his arm out like this, trying not to initiate as much contact as possible. So, but they inevitably hit each other, and he still got his arm up there. His arm is going for the ball. So when they make contact, it was definitely a foul. Definitely a foul. I'm not disputing that. But they were up there and they were up there. I mean, and the Duke player goes over and he falls hard on his shoulder. The referee went before the boy hit the ground, was already making the call like this. But I mean, and they had already made contact. He had already did his hand like this. When the Duke player hit the ground, as hard as he hit, the referee did just like this.
Right.
So my thing is, you called the foul, but it was not going to be intentional till the boy took a hard hit on the ground. What changed in that little millisecond between that? Because it's not, even announcers like that was not intentional. He was going for ball. My buddy Nelson Miller, definitely not a flagrant foul. How do you change that? How do you do that? Just because he hits hard, that doesn't make it a flagrant foul just because he hit the floor hard.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I had a couple controversial calls in the 5-6 years I've done it, and every time that me and my partners, I felt like we done pretty good. You went up, even though it was a hard foul, you went up with a closed fist, you had a foul. And you got together. You didn't do like that guy, like you said, went straight across.
Yeah.
You got with your partner to make sure that guy saw the same thing you did. Was that, did you think that was flagrant or did you think that was intentional? And if they agreed, you stop, stop when it's from the school, intentional foul, flagrant foul, whatever you had. But like you said, that was not the right call to go ahead and blow because you don't know what the other angle was. You don't know.
That's right.
You always got the other person's perspective.
And believe me, that was not going to make a difference in the outcome of the game at all. It was already over by that time. But, even announcers like he saw that hard hit. He called a flagrant foul because the boy hit the floor hard. But the contact, they were way up there and there. I mean, the contact was not that bad. It wasn't like he came down like this at him. He just had his arm up there trying to get ball. I mean, it is what it is. But Duke moves on. And that guy, I don't know how I think he did. They were testing him for a concussion, but I don't know how he wouldn't have one. NC State versus Oakland, the 11th seed versus the 14th seed. And let me tell you, the cardiac pack was at it again. They pull it out in overtime, 79-73. And I want to look something up because we talk about coincidences during this run with NC State in the ACC tournament, and now we're talking about we mentioned last week Houston's the number 1 seed. Let's see. I want to see. I know there was one game they went into double overtime with, but hold on. I don't want that up here. That's for sure. All right, here we go. UNLV. All right, Pepperdine went into like double overtime. UNLV goes into 2 overtimes. I think that's right. Let me see. No, they went in double overtime against Pepperdine. So you've got a tight game against UNLV, who was State was a 6th seed, and what were they here? They were 11th seed in this, so they were doing the opposite of this one. They played the 11th seed in the first round. State was the 11th seed in this, but went an overtime game in the first 2 rounds. They went to double overtime against Pepperdine in the first round and pulled that off. A lot of similarities here. Now, we may be reaching a little bit here, but who did they play? Who did they play next after the Utah? So now they're playing Utah was a 10th seed. They were a 10th seed then. But yeah, so State moves on. And there was a call in that game. And I don't know if my old age, I guess I'm going brain dead a little bit because I forgot. I was like, even Kelvin Keats thought it was called that. Oakland inbounding it under. Excuse me, my daughter's coming in, so my dogs are going nuts. They inbounded under their own basket, threw it long. The Oakland guy tipped it, and it went behind the half-court line, and he picked it up. And I was like, "That's an over and back." But they said since he didn't have possession of it, they didn't call it then. So Kelvin Keats and me were both thinking the same thing that night, but we were wrong. So I had to say that I am wrong.
I do want to say one thing about that other call at the end. I'm not saying it would have made a difference, but it possibly could have.
What's that?
I thought, and all the announcers, that ball went out on NC State with 1.8 seconds left.
Oh, yeah.
They should have gave that ball to Oakland. And what's the name? Goki or Loki? Jack. But it probably, who's to say he wouldn't have, that's right much time. And you're right there. You've been right there at your basket.
Yeah.
They catch that and shoot it up, But like I said, I'm happy that State, is doing what they're doing. I cheer for all the ACC teams as do.
So. Yep, me too. I'll go for that. So State moves on, and they'll take on Marquette. Marquette gets the 81-77 win over Colorado. So that sets up in Sweet 16 matchup. Houston versus Duke. Who you got, Eric?
I got used.
Yeah.
I got used to.
I think Duke came out and showed another side of themselves against. But here's the thing: you're playing, and nothing against either one of these things. You're playing Vermont, and you're playing James Madison. You're not playing Houston.
Right.
Houston can as much as I'm doubting Houston a little bit more than I was before. But anybody can have a bad game and just eke one out. That's what this tournament. You've seen this in that tournament so many times. But now, Duke's got to take on one of the number one seeds, and we'll see where Duke is if they're really all that everybody says they came out with another gear and all this stuff. But I got Houston winning that one too. And then you got Marquette and NC State. I want to pick State so bad. Really, I do. State fans, I'm a Carolina fan, but let me tell you, back in '83, I was pulling for you then, and I'm pulling for you now. But I think, and I hope this is reverse psychology and it works this way for you. But I got Marquette. I think Marquette ends the Cinderella run right here of State. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope I'm wrong. What about you, Eric?
I'm going with the upset.
Oh, there you go.
I'm going with the upset. I do think that's going to be one of them nail biters too, and it's going to be. But I've been saying it to State fans all year to some of these State fans before. What State lose the last 10 out of the last 4 regular season games?
Mm-hmm.
I said, y'all want to blame that coach? I said, DJ Burns is not in shape. I said, if that boy can stay on the floor, same thing with the ACC tournament and now the NCAA tournament. When he's on the floor, he draws attention.
He does.
You have to. You got to double that guy in the paint. And if that guy, what's the guy? Horn, number 0?
Horn. Yeah, Horn.
White guy, McConnell. If they can hit their shots, State is a tough, because they already play good defense. They are a tough team to beat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think Marquette, I'm still going to go upset, but I think State's going to, it's going to be hard to keep up with Marquette's speed. Marquette's going to have speed that's, I don't think State's seen.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to the last region, the Midwest region. Purdue kills Grambling State 78-50. Utah State beats TCU 88-72. I had TCU winning that game. Gonzaga over McNeese 86-65. Kansas over Samford. And talking about a bullcrap call, near the end of that Kansas-Samford game, the Kansas guy has a breakaway layup attempt. The Samford guy comes over the top, hits all ball, and that referee makes that call, calls a foul in that situation with not much time left. And, I mean, here's my thing. If they're going to do that, and I know it would get so time-consuming, but if there's even a question on a foul, if you're going to be able to do this and check possession and stuff like that, you need to do it on foul calls too.
Yep.
Because that right there, at the time, I think it was it 90-89? It was close. I mean,
yeah.
And Samford got the rebound off of the block.
All right.
So that could have ended Kansas's run right there. South Carolina gets tore up by Oregon, 87-73. Creighton over Akron, 77-60. Texas over Colorado State, 56-44. And then Tennessee all over St. Peter's, 83-49. So I missed a couple in that one. I think I missed the South Carolina game and the Utah State game. Moving into the 32 round, Purdue destroys Utah State. And, I mean, Purdue just put it on 106 points. They ended up winning 39 points. Good gosh. Gonzaga. What is going on with Kansas? Kansas gets blown out by Houston early in the year by 30 and then gets beat by Gonzaga by 21 points. What is Bill Self? I know he's had some injuries. There's been some injuries on the Kansas team, but this is not Kansas basketball that you see this late in the year, usually from Bill Self teams. Creighton over Oregon, 86-73. And Tennessee edges out Texas 62-58. So that leaves your Sweet 16 matchup, number 1 Purdue versus number 5 Gonzaga. Who you got, Eric?
You saying Gonzaga versus who?
Purdue.
I thought that's what you said. I hate. I'm gonna say Purdue. That Edie guy, the guy that's 7'2".
Yeah,
he's pretty tough.
Yeah, I agree with you. I got Purdue winning as well.
Yeah.
And then you got Creighton and Tennessee.
It's time for Creighton to go down.
Creighton's number 3 seed, so I mean they're playing good ball, but I still think Tennessee gets the win here.
Yeah, that's what I got. Go Vols.
Oh God, I ain't going that far. Rick Barnes. I've never been a Rick Barnes fan. So that'll set up. We'll be seeing the Elite 8 coming up soon. After what? Do they all play Thursday night? Friday. They play Friday night too, because Purdue and Gonzaga Friday night, 7:39 on TBS. Creighton and Tennessee. I guess
Is there any game Saturday?
Yeah, the teams that play Thursday night, like Carolina, they'll play. Whoever wins those games will play Saturday. So, yeah, Duke doesn't play Houston until Friday night either. Late game there for Duke fans. So you have State Marquette Friday at 7:09, and then Duke Houston Friday at 9:39, both on CBS there. So, yeah, it's coming around the corner. March Madness will be over before you know it. It'll be time for baseball, which is opening day tomorrow.
Yeah, we could talk baseball. I like baseball, but I've always said this, and there is too many games in baseball.
I was getting ready to say the same thing. I just can't. I start off with it because I hadn't watched it, and I'll watch a few games here and there at the first of the season. But then I'm like, okay, we got a long season to go. It's 162 games. So then I back off of it, and then I watch it during the when it gets close to the playoffs. When people start clinching playoff berths, I'll start watching again. I keep up with it, but I don't watch it, like I used to. But opening day tomorrow. So, all right. So let's talk a little football while we're here. We talked last week a lot of free agents. Last 2 weeks, a lot of free agency news, and I want to talk a little bit about your boys right quick, because one of the things we talked about was who's going to run the ball for the Cowboys, and now some names are being thrown out there. Maybe a return to Dallas for Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah, feed me. Let me jump in the Salvation Army bucket. Could be Ezekiel Elliott. Another name is mentioned, Dalvin Cook. I'm thinking Dak Prescott. Dalvin Cook's name's mentioned as well. What's your thoughts on either one of these guys? I know you'd be a big fan of Ezekiel coming back, I'm sure. But what if they bring both him and Dalvin Cook and put in the backfield?
Both of them would be a two-headed monster, but I feel like both of them are the same style runner, and I'm not saying it's going to work because I know Matthew's not up here, but the year the Giants went to the Super Bowl when you had Bradshaw, and Bradshaw was kind of speed, but you look at if you had Zeke and that, you got two pounded in their backs.
Change of pace.
Yeah, and I don't really see, how that would work.
Right.
Really, personally, I would like Dalvin Cook more, but I'm thinking Dallas is drafting a running back. So I would want Dallas to probably get Zeke. Well, maybe get him used to the culture. Zeke played with Dallas 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah.
I mean, get that young guy in there with the culture. I don't know when Dallas is going to draft a running back. I don't know if it's be first round or second round, but I got them picking a running back in at least the first or the second round.
All right. Matthew is here listening. He said baseball is much more enjoyable when you're there or playing, not really at home. Look at that. Look at the mugs up there. The baby is the best looking one the two babies are the best looking one out of that by far. And that jersey is just, oh gosh, Matthew, please do.
Get you one of these, Matthew. Get you one of these.
Eric said you need a Dak jersey on. And then somebody, Facebook user, hail to the Redskins.
Oh my God.
Who we got here? I wonder who that was.
Don't you come out here and talk about my Cowboys now, because y'all ain't won the Super Bowl.
It's been longer for them. Yeah, it's been longer for them. They were in 92.
No.
91 or 92?
91, because Cowboys won in 95. 91.
That's Jim Britt. Jim Britt from Greenville up here talking. He's a big ECU fan as well.
I can go down with the Pirates at least.
Yeah. So news coming out of free agency today: the Panthers making a little bit of a move. They signed Jadeveon Clowney to a 2-year deal. Of course, Clowney was with the Ravens last year. He had a decent year with them, but you know what? This is a guy that, I know he's had injuries. He was built up to be this defensive monster when he came to the league. Injuries sidetracked him a little bit with Houston. He's been a little bit of everywhere now. But that's a good pickup for the Panthers, I think. But it's not like, I don't feel like it's setting the world on fire or anything like that. Where, oh God, they got Clowney, this is going to turn it around. No, that's a good pickup though. 49er CEO says Brock Purdy will ask for a record deal when he's eligible to get there. What do you think, Eric? You think needs record money?
I don't think he needs record money. That man deserves to get paid.
He deserves to get paid. I'm with you. I don't know if he needs to get paid, break the bank pay, but you need to pay him good.
All right. Well, is he talking that this year now, or
when he's eligible? He's not eligible because he was. What was the deal? It was something about him being unsigned. Unsigned free agent. He's not eligible for another contract yet.
Well, all right, let's talk Brock Purdy for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to the Super Bowl this year.
Oh, if they go back,
if they go, I think you get. I hate to say, I think you give him the record deal. Then
I don't know about record deal. Now if he wins it, maybe.
Yeah.
But if you go to the Super Bowl and lose twice, I don't think you got that bargaining power to get. You're going to get good money because you led them. You're Mr. Irrelevant. You you managed that team to whatever you did. You got them to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. So yeah, I think he gets paid. He's going to get paid unless he just absolutely craps his pants this year. He's going to get paid. How about Jim Harbaugh saying he's been living in an RV since he took the job with the Chargers? I guess he's waiting for his house to find a house, but he's been living in an RV since he took the job with the Chargers.
He's probably gonna have to live in that RV because, like you said last week, Chargers.
I agree with you, bud. They ain't got many offensive weapons at all up there. Rams add Tre'Davious White to their secondary, the longtime Buffalo Bill. All right. Here's what we need to talk about too with your boy. Dak, wearing the jersey tonight.
Dakota.
Dallas Cowboys have yet to offer quarterback Dak Prescott a contract extension, and there's no indication the deal is coming. There's a mutual understanding from both sides. Ian Rappaport from the NFL Network is reporting this. He's set to enter his final season of a 4-year, $160 million extension he signed in 2021. It includes a no trade or tag clause, and if the two sides don't agree on the deal, he'll become an unrestricted free agent 2025. He is scheduled to have a $55.4 million cap hit this year. And it's the big reason why the Cowboys have been able to spend money in free agency is they are 29th in cap space right now. Why? I mean, why, like a lot of teams you see, why do you think Dak, they haven't restructured his deal like to make room in the cap? I mean, I'm not saying, I don't even know if he can. I mean, but most of these players, when they get these big contracts, they offer to get paid, to take less of a cap hit that year and get paid more another year, or to work it out that way. I don't understand why they're not doing it. If they're so strapped for cash, I don't understand why they're not doing it. I'm not saying Dak isn't willing to do it or what the problem is, but seems like something's going on there in Jerry land. What you think, Eric?
I just, like I said, is it Prescott or is it Jerry? I mean, who do we blame here? I mean, you got to blame Jerry because he's the owner to make a deal like this. And do you blame Prescott? I mean, if you're stupid enough to give me the money, I'm gonna take the money.
Yeah.
But I always say to people, when Prescott got it, and I said it then, Prescott did not earn the money that he deserved. If you cannot get the Cowboys, Jerry should have had that before he even filled the contract. If you cannot lead me to an NFC championship since '95, I'm almost 30 years now. Don't come in here and talk big money, buddy. Don't come in here and talk big money.
I'll tell you this. Just like I said about Brock Purdy, you said it. You hit the nail on the head of right what I wanted to say. He didn't deserve that money he got doing no more than he did. I mean, you put up the numbers, that's great. You put up the yards, that's great. But look at what he does in the playoffs. He doesn't perform well in the playoffs. He proved that. And just like right now, it's soon, I mean, like a couple of days after that loss to the Packers, they were coming out talking about, well, they're going to give him more money and sign him to an extension. I was like, why? Why? You're going to get, and just like the same thing I said with McCarthy coming back, be prepared to have the same thing happen to you every year. You get the same cast in there every year. And I mean, I'm not talking about like if you got a rookie or a second-year quarterback in there, because they're going to improve. They're going to improve. But Dak's been there long enough where he's hitting that plateau. I mean, he's not going to get much better than what he is now. And why are you going to give a guy like that more money when he hasn't even made it to an NFC championship game? And you're going to talk about paying him all this money. The individual, you can pay people for individual stats, but I've always said that there needs to be some clauses in a player's contract that deals with team goals, like team goals, winning your division, winning a NFC or AFC championship, winning the Super Bowl. The clauses with that need to be worth more than individual stuff, like leading the. Well, I mean, how many touchdowns you throw? If you throw a certain amount of touchdowns, we're going to give you this amount of money. Don't do that. Take that out of there. Say, if you get me a division championship, you get a that's an incentive bonus right there. It's all about putting numbers up, dude. It's all about that. And at least, it looks like it to me. I mean, that's just my opinion. But Brock Purdy, just like we said, he's had him in a Super Bowl and had on the verge of another Super Bowl until he gets hurt in that NFC Championship game against the Eagles.
Right.
Who knows what would have happened in that game? But and people will, if he gets paid, people will raise the eyebrow to it because, well, he doesn't put up the numbers like Dak does. So guess what?
Damn the numbers.
Give me a ring. I don't
Yeah.
care.
I mean, I've always been like that. I'm pretty sure the same way when you play.
Yeah.
I mean, any type of sport. Yes. Did it feel good when? All right, I'll go football here. Did it feel good if you went out there like Prescott and go out there and throw for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception? But you lose the ball game. I'd rather throw 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but at the end of the ball game, I didn't throw the game and lose an interception. I threw the check down to my running back that walked it in for a touchdown.
Look at what did we talk about? Looking at Dak's stats against the Packers. He had over 400 yards passing. He had 2 or 3 touchdowns. But
Trash.
you look at it on paper and you're like, Dak carried that team. But all honesty, I hate to say it this way, but Dak cost the Cowboys the game that day. Interceptions, missed passes, not he wasn't on the same page as his receiving core that day.
The whole team
Lamb
cost us that game. Defense play, and that pissed me off more than the Prescott thing because our defense last year, to me, was flat out lights out. And then we go to the playoffs, and I felt like we could have went out there, me, you, and Matthew, and the rest of Northeast Academy, and done the same thing to the Dallas Cowboys that day. They just looked horrible.
I think this is Jim Brett making these comments here. I'm going to flash through them. Dallas needs a GM. I totally agree. Totally agree. Jerry needs to give it up and let a general manager come in there and handle the personnel moves. Dak didn't earn it, and he's not giving it up because his time is running out. That's one side that it could be on this. Has Dak? We don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, if you look at it both ways, is Jerry not offering Dak more money, or Jerry not asking to restructure his contract, or is Dak doing this, saying, "Oh, Matthew said Dallas needs a new GM." Excuse me, but is it Dak not wanting to restructure contract, wanting to get this money all up front? Dallas plays themselves out of draft picks every year, a good draft pick every year. Well, I mean,
I don't. Why? And I ain't trying to cut you off, Stevie. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
But that pisses me off. I wish the NFL would change that. That's one thing I wish the NFL would do like the NBA. That's the only thing now, is make the draft like a lottery. The last 10 teams. Because if you're not playing to win, if I'm coaching that team, get the hell out of here. I mean, seriously, get the hell out. As a fan, Cowboys could be about to fight for the number 1 pick. And I might be, y'all can call me crazy, stupid, dumb, I don't care. Every game Dallas plays, I want the Dallas Cowboys to win. I don't want to cheer for my team to lose. I'm not going to do it. I'll never do it. I swear I'll never do it.
I don't want to see my team tank to get a draft pick. I mean, I had some Steelers fans say that too, but we did just enough to make the playoffs and to get ourselves out of a good draft pick. So what? I mean, I want to win a playoff game. I want to get that chance to win a playoff game. We haven't won one in so long. It's been 4 or 5 playoff appearances since we won a game in the playoffs. So I'm ready to win a playoff game. I'm tired of the whole, well, we're over 500. Tomlin's over 500. Give me a break with that. Let's win a playoff game. Then we can talk a little bit. So, competition committee met this week, and there were a lot of talk. You know, the tush push was talked about. That's going to be keep going for at least another year. They're talking about some changes to the kickoff rule coming, which I don't like either. But this rule, NFL Competition Committee has banned the hip drop tackle. Rich McKay announced Monday. It was a unanimous vote to outlaw the technique. The penalty for a hip drop tackle will be a loss of 15 yards and an automatic first down. So let me ask this. I know, and looking at the data, the hip drop tackle had an injury rate 20-25 times higher than any other tackle. It'll be a hard one to call on the field. You have to see every element of it. We want to make a rule so we can deal on the discipline during the week. The new penalty seeks to prevent defenders from dropping their weight onto the legs of offensive players. You know, I know a lot of guys, the offensive players, are happy about this, but what about these defensive players? This is becoming, the NFL is becoming more like what the NBA is becoming to a certain extent. Let's favor the offense as much as we can. And how are these guys going to, I mean, in the heat of the moment, when you're trying to make a tackle at the end of the game, and let's say it's a Super Bowl, you're trying to make a tackle at the end of the game, and you're going to do whatever you can to take that guy down. How do you control that?
You can't.
I mean, you've been taught. These guys have been taught since day one. Grab legs, and if you have to fall on them. Grab the legs, grab them around the waist, and fall on them. Take them down. They have been taught. Okay, you can grab them around the waist, but you can't. What are they going to do? Pick them up and just hold them now?
Well, that's my thing is, what's the angle on the hip drop tackle? Because you and I both football coach, and we teach hit them low, wrap around, waist legs. I mean, it don't matter how big the person is, they can't run without the legs.
I was taught that from the time when I played backyard football.
Right.
I was taught that. Hit them in the legs or hit them in around the waist and then grab them and hold them and pull them down.
I mean, body weight on them.
I understand. Look, I could think of watching some of my old games. I could think of a couple plays right now. I would have been called for it, but I didn't have any choice. I'm a 145-pound guy trying to tackle a guy down, and I'm grabbing it. That's the only thing I could do. I mean, I know they're professionals, but you're just taking away something else from the defense. And offensive players, believe me, I understand where you're coming from with the injuries. I don't like seeing anybody get hurt. But what's going to happen next when they tackle you another way and people start getting hurt that way? It goes through this a lot. You've already taken – the horse collar's already gone, which I think that is dangerous. But, I mean, you've always did whatever you had to do to bring somebody down. You've already took the horse collar. Now you're taking this. How are they going to be able to tackle these guys now? I don't know.
You can't. That's what I'm talking about with the angle on the hip drop. All right. Say Dallas plays Pittsburgh. Dallas running back breaks free. And the Pittsburgh defender's chasing them down. Well, how is he supposed to tackle him right now if he's behind him? I mean, he's going to have to grab him by the waist or legs. He's going to have to fall on him. How you going to tackle him? We want to do triple him. I can't do that neither.
I like this comment here. I don't know who this is. Hockey's the bomb. Yeah, there ain't many rules in hockey. You can even start fighting in hockey, and that's encouraged. So How long? How long though before that gets taken care of too? But man, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how these defenses adjust to what this rule is. Because I don't know, dude. I'm serious. I just like J.J. Watt had a tweet saying, "I'm just getting ready for the day they put flags around all of them's waist," and he's right.
Yeah, exactly right. It's just pitiful. I mean, and I hate to say it, college football is. We'll go to the targeting here.
Yeah,
College football is even getting hard to watch, and I love any type of football. I do. I've always been like that. I keep up with colleges like I keep up with the NFL. But it's every college game somebody gets thrown at for targeting.
any hard hit in college, they automatically review it.
What happens to inflicting? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to go out there and take your head off, Steven. I mean, I probably would. I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm
I
going to
know
go
what you mean.
hard.
You're not trying to hurt somebody, but you want to hit somebody hard.
You want to inflict? If Steve, if you run in the ball and it's the first play of the game, and I'm the linebacker, you run that ball, you come to the. I'm going to do everything in my power to inflict fear into you. I don't want to go through that hole no more.
Yeah,
It's nobody like that. You can't do that no more.
I agree. I mean, you. It was. Can you imagine somebody like Dick Butkus, Jack Lambert, Ray Nitschke, uh, Sam Huff back in the day, hearing these rules now, what they're thinking? I mean, some of them are dead and gone, but um, they hearing that they'll be like, "What is this coming to?" I mean, I don't know, dude. I really don't like the direction the NFL is going to right now.
We could argue rules. Be live for 12 hours talking about rules because I'm not the biggest fan of defensive pass interference call. Like I agree on some of them, but some of them is little tug and pull here. I'm at on the third down or fourth down at the end of the ball game. Come on now,
Yeah,
come on.
I think there's to a certain extent, and I know what people are going to say. Well, but if you got so many challenges you can on a play like a catch or something like that, coach, you ought to be able to challenge a referee's call in a game at least one time in a game. Say you got a challenge. Say you got challenges for replay where they can go to replay for catches and stuff like that or fumbles. You ought to be able to have at least one where you can challenge a referee's call because some pass interference calls. And what kills me more than anything, I've hated it since I was a kid, is when these referees make a terrible call on Sunday, and then the NFL Monday comes out and tells the team, "Oh yeah, it was a bad call." Well, why don't you just slap me in the face? Because I would rather you not even tell me it was a bad call. I'd rather you just say, you know what, he made the call. That was a call on the field. Don't tell me because you can't go back. That some of these calls can change the outcome of games. And when you tell me that, you might have took away a win from me, and that win might be key to get me into playoffs later in the year. So
Right.
don't tell me that. Don't slap me in the face and tell me that later on. Are you going to reprimand that referee? No, you don't. You just you keep him from. And granted, guys, these referees get kept from like refereeing the Super Bowl or refereeing the playoff games. And I mean, I know that's more money for them, but these guys already ain't hurting for money. This is their second job. You look at some of the occupations these referees, NFL referees have, they ain't hurt for money a bit, dude. They are like most of them are sitting pretty. I mean, but that they ain't worried about you. I've always said if the NFL could find a way to do it, they need to hire full-time referees and make them accountable for the calls they make. Just like a player he's accountable for the mistakes he makes on the field. A referee A professional referee should be accountable for what the mistakes he makes out there.
And I feel like, and I'll go back on this one too. How many referees is on the field at a time in an NFL game?
How many is it, Reg? Let me see. Gosh knows, because
And I've always said this. This is coming from a referee again on this one. I know people are probably tired of me saying. I refereed with some guys that played the game, and I refereed with some guys that didn't play the game. And you could tell, Stevie. You
yeah,
could. You
seven. There's seven on the field.
all right. Let's do scenarios. Let's do let's that would be perfect. What you said, good full time NFL referees. How many referees you need is in the league? I don't know, 50, 100. I don't know. But do your best to get players that used to play.
Yeah, yeah.
The players that used to play. They know the game, well, on this play right here, the guard's gonna pull, but most of the time this guard, he does hold on this play. He's gonna hold on that toss play. Well, some of these guys that just referee football, anything is like they're just gonna be like, well, I didn't see nothing there. You can kind of, I don't know, I predict what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You don't need to throw the flag, but you can. All right, well, this is the time Derrick Henry is gonna run the toss here because I used to play for the Titans, or I know what's gonna happen, and the guard's gonna pull. And I looked on the tape a lot, and I noticed that this guy holds a lot. Well, that helps out.
Yeah.
That helps out the game because you got a guy that don't know nothing about football, and you talk about a guard pulling, and he has no idea what the heck you're talking about, and he's out here calling college and NFL games.
I you know, I'm reading right now. It was a question: are NFL referees full time? And it said yes, but they're not full time. Um, Game officials assigned to work NFL games via a process which considers a referee's performance, experience, and seniority. So, I just think they need to. Hold on, let me ask this question right quick.
Like guys like the pass interference calls. Look, I'm not saying they should referee, but bring some Deion Sanders in there, some Charles Woodson, some guys in there that let's talk football. Help me, help you. Let's make the game better.
Okay. ESPN. Why the NFL doesn't already have full time officials? This is from way back. I think. Let me see. When was this? Oh, this was 2016. I mean, and it's got salaries. How much the NFL refs make? They are hiring full time. Can the NFL require an official of interest to accept full time status? No, they can't. NFL referees should be full time employees. That's like YouTube, so I'll have to listen to that. That may be something we talk about next week. To solve officiating crisis, the NFL needs full time officials. See, that's what we're talking about. They need to definitely. One last thing before we get out of here. I meant to talk about this earlier. The Titans make a big move. They get from the Kansas City Chiefs. They get L'Jarius Sneed in exchange for third round pick in 2025 and a seventh round pick in 2024. So really, not a bad trade for the Titans. They just got to take. They've got to take on his big salary now. But I don't know. Tennessee's making some moves. We'll see.
I feel like I agree. That was a good trade.
Yeah, I mean, for no more than the picks they had to give up were not bad picks to give up for a guy of that caliber. So So we'll see. The later we get in the year, we got the draft coming up soon next month. So we'll talk about some of that. Who after the draft and free agency is over with, we'll have a better understanding of what the teams got, and then we'll start making our division previews, making our picks, we think each team's going to do. But any last word there?
Fuck them Cowboys.
Jesus, I should have known.
No, I'm glad. Like I said, glad to be back up here again. Glad up here to talk football. And like I said, maybe next week we'll get to talk more March Madness and more football. Like I said, maybe it won't be long. We'll talk about doing that mock draft.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Just saw Speaking of baseball, Dodgers signed Will Smith, not the Chris Rock's buddy, but the other Will Smith. 10 years, $140 million extension.
Mm.
How would you like to know that you were going to get paid $140 million? Which 10 years, 140, that's not as big as what I've seen.
That's
But still, I'll take $140 million over 10 years. One last thing. I want to get your thoughts on this. This came up today, and I meant to talk about this a while ago. Caitlin Clark, our women's basketball star, just got offered $5 million to play 8 games and potentially 2 playoff games in the Big 3 League, which is Ice Cube's Big 3 League. And she can still, the deal is she can still play in the WNBA. But she's got a chance to do that and would be the first woman to do that in this men's league.
I would do it.
I mean,
she can play.
Ice Cube said, with our offer, she can make history and break down even more barriers for women athletes. And and it's good. He said, we intended the offer to remain private while she plays for the championship, but I won't deny what's now already out there. Big 3 made a historic offer to Caitlin Clark. Why wouldn't we? She is a generational athlete who can achieve tremendous success in the Big 3.
I agree.
Matthew said he missed it tonight, but that's all right, buddy. We'll have you on plenty more times. But yeah, that should be interesting to see. And she said she played with boys all through before she got to high school. So and that's what made her the player she was now. So she's tough. She's definitely tough.
I think her brother played quarterback at Iowa State.
Did he?
Yeah. Yep. I can't remember his name. I don't know if he started, but I think he was the backup. And I think she had another brother, but she grew up with boys. And then you seen that video of her dad. I was watching the game when her dad.
Oh yeah, shut up! She told her to shut up.
I don't blame her.
I wouldn't. She was throwing out. Hey, before I go to guys, this is totally off the sports subject, but you see the shirt I'm wearing tonight, Caleb's Crusaders. This is the anniversary. Yesterday was the anniversary of a good friend of mine, a guy that I coached all through his high school days. Just a great kid. One I looked at he used to joke when we said he was like my little brother, and he was like, I don't know who you're looking at, but you ain't bigger than me. So, but yeah, Caleb Toppin, who, 8 years ago yesterday, passed away after a battle with cancer for years. Just knowing Caleb the way I did and coaching him all those years. The first day I met Caleb, they had just got me to come out there and help with the JV football team. I wasn't even the head coach, but I didn't know him that was the first time I ever laid eyes on him. And I told him after practice that day, the way he was acting and stuff, I asked him what his name was, and he was like, told me his name. And I said, I'm going to be leaning on you a lot because I'm coaching defense. I'm going to be leaning on you a lot. I said, because I can tell you're a leader. I said, you gotta, don't let me down though. Don't let me down. And he never did. But yeah, Caleb was special. And I mean, to hear some of the stories about Caleb when he had his fight with cancer, I know his preacher at the time, I asked him when he was in the middle of it, if you could go back, would you change anything? He said, and this is a kid in his early 20s saying this. He said, I wouldn't change anything because if it was one person I helped, then it's worth it. And I mean, it's tough because he would babysit my daughter, and my daughter was really close to him, and it always hits her hard because his funeral was on her birthday that year, 8 years ago, which was the 29th. But and that was the first time I ever spoke. Never thought that I would do anything like that, but speak at somebody's funeral. And the only two times I've ever done that was him and my dad's. And I mean, I can't imagine doing it for just anybody, but um, it's hate to end it on a downer like this, guys. But uh, you know, Caleb was special, and I mean, it's for those that knew him, they knew it. I know he had a lot of the guys on that first year I coached. I was head coach of the varsity football team at Northeast. A lot of every one of those guys, or most of those guys that could, showed up with their jerseys on at the funeral that day, and that meant a lot. And that just shows what kind of family they were out there that year. But Caleb, we miss you, buddy. It's I don't even know what to say, but I had to wear this tonight just in memory of Caleb. I thought it was the right thing to do, and this time of year it's always kind of a gloomy. Yesterday was a gloomy day, and no, me and Caleb weren't kin or anything like that, but we were close. But we miss you, buddy. Miss you 24. All right.
Rest in peace.
With that said, that's going to do it, guys, for tonight. Next week we'll be back. Matthew will be back with us again next week, hopefully. And we'll have all three of us here. Eric, you might as well just consider yourself a part of the group now.
I got myself an intro.
Yeah, we'll have to find Matthew. You hear that? We're gonna have to add Eric's voice in there somehow. Good, funny, haha, bird song. But yeah, we're gonna have to add. You might as well just consider yourself a part of the crew now. So I know Matthew will agree with me. It has been fun the last 3 or 4 weeks with you up here. So consider you a part of the group now. I'll have to get your contract details. It ain't gonna be no DAC contract, that's for sure. But we'll see.
Worth it.
Huh?
I'm worth that money.
Anyway, guys, look, let me tell you guys, I've had an overload of podcasts coming out this week between On the Fly, catching up on the back episodes because last week, I'm gonna tell you what, when I was up here, I was not feeling good. I had an earache, and two things: an earache and a toothache will drive you crazy. And the earache was on me last week. So I'm a little behind on my podcast stuff, but I'm getting it all out now. I think I just uploaded last week's, and I'll get this one uploaded tomorrow. So bear with us. If you want to subscribe to us on a YouTube channel, please do. Give us a like on wherever you listen to your podcast at. Birdsong. Since you're out there, go to there's a little thing you can do. You can listen to podcasts. I know you just listen to us, but if you will, or get all your buddies to go to Apple Music or Apple Podcasts or Spotify and give us a 5-star review. It helps a lot. It gets our name out there. It gets us listened to more. And right now, this isn't the highest we've ever had in here, but it's close. We've got 22 people watching right now between Twitter and Facebook and YouTube right now. 22 people. I appreciate all 22 of you. Birdsong, Matthew, Jim Britt, whoever else, Nelson, Thank you for chiming in. Guys on Twitter, y'all can chime in anytime you want to with your thoughts. Make a comment out there, guys. Please. We love talking about it. One week we're going to have to do stuff where we have a Ask Anything episode where you guys can ask us what you think about football or whatever, what we think about this certain thing. That's going to do it, guys. Like I said, check us out wherever you listen to your podcast and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Eric, don't say it again. You said it enough this week. But
I appreciate all you listening.
All right, you guys enjoy March Madness, and we'll see you next week on the final score.